Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the International Fertilizer Association. Welcome to Singapore. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Rana Karadsheh. I'm with the International Finance Corporation, and I want to talk about financing the green transition in the fertilizer sector. I apologize that I couldn't be here in person. I did have to travel on urgent matters, but thank you for the opportunity to speak with you virtually. In all of our work at IFC, we certainly apply a climate lens to ensure that emerging economies can develop and remain sustainable over the long term. And this includes along the whole agri-value chain, from farm to fork, from inputs, which very much includes the fertilizer sector, very, very critical, particularly in today's environment. For us, when we look at the fertilizer sector, what we see is this needs to be a multi-dimensional, multi-pronged approach to decarbonizing it. And we also look at how can we support this transition and provide capital to support this. As I know many of you here certainly value taking a decarbonized approach to your industry, but we also realize it's not simple, it's not straightforward. But one of the things that at least I want to mention today is this is something that is doable. This is something that we feel can be done in steps. So there are three main routes that we see to decarbonizing the fertilizer sector. One, through demand management. Two, energy efficiency. And three, through decarbonization technologies. With demand management, which I think should be considered, this involves reducing the demand for raw materials that would contribute to environmental degradation, and this can contribute to circularity in the market. For example, IFC worked with Tata Chemicals in India to assess and reduce its water usage within its direct operations and supply chain, thereby supporting them in managing their demand for industrial use. Second, energy efficiency. So companies can often start their decarbonization journey by investing in resource efficiency measures because they're relatively simple to implement and produce cost savings that contribute to the bottom line. While essential, resource efficiency alone won't be sufficient to fully decarbonize hard-to-abate sectors, but they are an important first step. So the messages with demand management and energy efficiency that I would like to send to all of you is that these are easy, low-hanging fruit that I think all of us should look to implement. But as I said, it doesn't get us fully there. So what do we want to do from there? Well, we're looking to the future towards decarbonization technologies. And there we're seeing some extremely interesting technologies come forward. So this route is to adopt innovative decarbonization technologies, and this is where the fertilizer sector can really make significant gains. So what does this mean? This can include alternative fuels for feedstock, electrifying processes, green hydrogen, and carbon capture. Around 87% of the fertilizer sector energy's consumption goes into ammonia production. So switching to low carbon ammonia will have a huge impact. IFA's own research shows that introducing efficient technology to existing plants can result in substantial emission reduction. Some manufacturers have reduced CO2 emissions by almost 10% per ton of ammonia and have achieved an average of 5.5% improvement in energy efficiency since 2004. So does it take you fully there? No, but it is a pathway, yes. And I think that's the main message that I want to deliver to all of you there. You don't have to go from all to nothing in one step. We consider this a transition. So I encourage you to look at one, the low-hanging fruit, two, the transition and implementing these technologies. Let me continue with that. So some zero-emission technologies such as green ammonia are promising, but others yet are not available at commercial scale. But we're keeping our eye out on them, and we think that they will be coming sometime in the near future. These are encouraging signs that green ammonia can be viable in developed markets, but the technology to produce green ammonia at this point is considered high risk. Right? And I think that's all we all do realize. So until the technology is viably at scale, blended finance could offer a solution for investors seeking to support the sector and produce green ammonia in emerging markets. And what we are seeing is that there's a lot of encouraging signs of individuals, of donors, of partners willing to leverage blended finance to help companies and countries accelerate their transition on the climate agenda. So that is one way to help implement it until it becomes commercially viable and at scale. Another option, which will have significant impact, is green hydrogen. IRENA predicts that the hydrogen will make up 12% of the energy mix by 2050. About 2/3 of the hydrogen must be green and come from water instead of natural gas. Right now, less than 1% of hydrogen produced globally is water-based. So that's something we do need to work on. But there are promises. Falls in costs of renewable energy and electrolyzers have increased the commercial viability of green hydrogen. According to some estimates, for example, Bloomberg New Energy Finance forecasts the range of cost of hydrogen produced for large projects by 2050. So they predict that if these costs continue to fall, green hydrogen could be produced for between 70 cents and $1.60 per kilo by 2050. A price, one could say, is competitive with natural gas. So even more ambitious is NEL, the world's largest producer and manufacturer of electrolyzers. They predict that the cost to produce green hydrogen could equal or beat fossil fuels by 2025. So the point is, technology is there, technology is accelerating, and I think the more that we encourage our clients and our partners to move on this green transition, the faster the technology will develop. As demand goes up, the technology will certainly be there and be available. And in the meantime, as we transition to adopting technology or have the technology there available at scale, there is blended finance, which can help many companies in this transition. I would also say that carbon capture, utilization, and storage, CCUS, is also gaining popularity with manufacturers and governments. Fertilizer plants that have captured and reused their CO2 emissions have measurably and consistently reduced their greenhouse gas emissions. The IEA estimates that to get the world on track for net zero emissions by 2050, investments into clean energy transition needs to almost double from just over $2 trillion in 2021 to $4 trillion by 2030. All regions need to increase spending on clean energy, but in emerging markets and developing economy, the required increase is especially large. Around 70% of all clean energy investments must come from the private sector. So from all of us here, from all of you, are a big part of this energy transition and decarbonization that we need to undertake across industries. Let me just throw a few other figures for you. Green bond investment in a single year could reach a milestone of $1 trillion for the first time by the end of 2022. So a lot of capital is flowing into the green industry. In 2021, $366 billion was issued through sustainability-linked loans, almost 3 times the volume in 2020. And these can also work with governments on blended finance mechanism and sustainable finance taxonomy. So the capital is there, the mechanisms there, the tools are there, so we all need to come together to pull it together. And the last thing I want to mention is obviously the agriculture sector. Fertilizer is a key ingredient for our farmers. And we also know that the agri sector accounts for about human-caused GHG, about 1/3 of global GHG. More than 60% of those come from developing countries. So I think what is critical is we need to look at climate-smart agriculture so to help increase productivity, improve usage of inputs such as seeds and fertilizer, which will help reduce waste and at the end of the day, reduce emissions. And the way we need to do this across Asia is to work with the farmers, the smallholder farmers, leveraging technology to teach them best practices, how to use your raw materials, your inputs much more efficiently, and enhance crop yields, slow soil erosion, and prevent crop loss. All of this, so the whole fertilizer feed to food nexus is sitting with all of us here, and we can collectively find a solution for it. I do believe there are challenges, but I also strongly believe there are solutions. Where there's a need, where there's a demand, innovation always steps up. and comes in to support that transition. And as I said, there are a lot of technologies that are emerging that will help us in this transition, and I think certainly get us there. And I would like to say that the Asia region is a powerhouse of innovation and can lead the world in developing the technologies necessary to adapt and to mitigate climate change. And so with that, I would like to thank all of you here for the opportunity to speak with you. The world has experienced multiple existential crises at the moment, significant threats to food security overlaid by climate change. So creating a resource and energy efficient food system will be crucial. We must not ignore the critical needs of today. We must address them, but we must not also keep our eye off the ball of the long-term needs, because unless we do that, we will be dealing with crises after crises. So once again, I want to thank you all, remind you how important the fertilizer sector is and how we can collectively work together to find a solution. Thank you.